You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
McGuire Mondays. I haven't been to the land of McGuire in ages, Pierre. It is great to see you. It is great to talk puck. Where do you want to start? You want to start in the East? You want to start in the West?
I want to make Peterborough's Finest proud, so you go where you want to go, Daniel.
Well, I want to talk about the West then, because I think I've made it clear I am not a fan of any team in the NHL. When the Montreal Canadiens traded Patrick Waugh, I became a free agent. I've remained a free agent for life, and it's the best decision I ever made. But I am on the Edmonton Oilers bandwagon. I can't get enough of watching this team and what they're doing now with the Dallas Stars. They could easily, had it not been for one period in game one, the third period, they could have easily been up 3 games to none.
Completely agree. If you look at it, they've played 9 periods so far in this matchup. They've won 7 of 9. They lost the third period of game 1, and I think they lost the second period of game 3. Outside of that, they've been the better team by a mile. And I love how you said that too. Connor McDavid picked game 3 to be his best game, and he was off the charts good. But if you look at the combined total team effort, whether it's Stuart Skinner in goal, whether it's the entire defense, whether it's their depth forwards, whether it's a physicality, they've planted a seed of doubt in the minds of the Dallas Stars. There's no question about it. You're spot on, Dan.
Is it just me looking through now a narrow lens at this Oilers team where I am transfixed by, but there's at least 4 times a period where I have to stop the game and go back and look at it and say, I can't believe what they're doing. Plus, the tempo is at a pace that a lot of teams would have a tough time keeping up with.
This winter, I had a chance to visit with Mary Lemieux at his fantasy camp, and also we have homes up in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec. So 2 times this winter I visited with him. And both times he said to me, I've never seen a player faster with the puck on his stick, and I've never seen a player faster without the puck on his stick than Connor McDavid. And he says he's just revolutionizing the game. And I completely agree with Mario on that. I've never seen a player faster with or without the puck on his stick. And it's not just what he does with the puck on his stick, it's the other decisions he makes without the puck and how he gets to open ice and how he saves his speed and then how he blows by people. It's so intimidating. You know, I've never played against a player like that, and I've never coached against a player like that. And I can't imagine it's an easy game plan to draw up. But I would say this, the Oilers are full value right now. They deserve a ton of credit as a team. Their coaching staff, led by Chris Knobloch, deserves a lot of credit. But they have to maintain their, Dan, if they lose their discipline for 1 second, like they did in game 1, they still could be in trouble in this series. They got to maintain their discipline, Dan.
You know the game much better than me. I'm a casual observer. I like watching exciting hockey. But from my observation, the Edmonton Oilers have one thing. Well, they have a lot of things going for them, but one very key thing is every player dressed for the Oilers in every game does at least one thing. There's no one that you say, oh, I didn't even know they were dressed, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, where you could go an entire game and notice 3 players. Am I wrong in saying the Oilers are getting key contributions from every single member?
You're 100% right again, Dan. I'm going to the casino with you when we're done because you're nailing everything. Whether it's Corey Perry, the last player standing from the 2003 draft, now that Team Canada lost and Marc-Andre Fleury's no longer playing and Ryan Suter, St. Louis Blues are done. Whether it's that Corey Perry factor, whether it's Vitaly Podkolzin, you look at it, Brett Kulak on the back end, you're John Klingberg, who came back from hip surgery. You look at all the different players that you're alluding to, they're all contributing to the Edmonton Oilers. And let's think about, is there a better comeback story than what Stuart Skinner's doing right now? I will give it to him right now. I never thought he'd bounce back. After he got replaced after game 2 in the LA series by Calvin Pickard, Dan, I can tell you straight up, I never thought he'd get it back on the rails. That guy must be mentally strong. He's obviously a tremendous athlete. He deserves full value. I got it wrong on him, and right now he's proven me 100% wrong.
But he's doing something that happened a lot in your coaching days, Pierre, which was goalies stop a puck and then look behind them. Stuart Skinner, he's going back to the 80s and 90s. He's doing it a lot, and that's got to be nerve-wracking, not only for him, but his teammates. Like, do you not know where the puck is?
You know, it's amazing. He's very fortunate. He's not the same size as one of my former goalies, Mario Gosselin, or one of my other former goalies, Frank Pietrangelo, who were both tremendous goalies in their time, but they weren't overly large people. The fact that he's such a giant humanoid allows him to have that luxury of, well, I'm going to get in the way of it. I'm just not going to know where the second chance opportunity is going to come from. So I think it obviously is a heightened sense of where his defensemen have to be aware, and also the forward that's protecting the slot for the Oilers. But again, he's getting the job done right now. Long way to go in this series still, and I think discipline is going to be a big part of this going forward for Edmonton. But if they can maintain their composure, they're in pretty good shape. And one other thing we talked about before we came on the air, it shows you how important one player can be for a Stanley Cup run. Rope Hintz not being in the Dallas Stars lineup for Game 3 totally changed the complexion of their lineup. You could see it right from the puck drop. This was a team that didn't have the same identity. And if he can't come back in this series, I don't know how much of a road left there is for the Dallas Stars to travel. I think they'll be running out of racetrack pretty fast.
Quick side note, Mario Gosselin was, if memory serves, he was also a member of the Quebec Nordiques in those years where they'd have like 8 goalies play at some point for them.
You would be correct, sir. You would be correct.
Okay, so coaches and teams can change. We saw the Florida Panthers. They were down 2-0 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They went home. They said, well, we know what to fix, and they fixed it. Are the Dallas Stars fixable?
The Dallas Stars are fixable. Rope Hintz has to come back. They're going to have to do a better job the way they start the game. They can't fall behind against Edmonton. The reason why that is more importantly than anything else, Dan, if they fall behind, they can't stick to their game plan. They have to chase the game. They need to be in charge of the game. They have to force Edmonton to chase the game and open up. It becomes an easier game for Dallas. So getting the lead, getting the start on time, and I think more than anything else, don't take silly penalties. The Oilers' power play is too lethal. So it's not a really complicated game plan. And just probably the final thing, Jake Ottinger wasn't particularly good in Game 3 for him. His battle level is extremely high. I think he will bounce back and be better in Game 4. And we'll see. If he can be, then we got a long series. If he can't be, then it's potentially a very short series.
Speaking of short series, the Florida Panthers are up 3-0 on the Carolina Hurricanes. Rod Brindamore, I would love a camera on him 24 hours a day right now because he is blowing a gasket. So you got one of 2 ways to approach this in your pep talk before Game 4. Hey, go out there and have fun, or we're still in this. We just got to win this one.
Yeah, this is not going to be easy, especially after what Rod said at the tail end of Game 3. I think if he had a mulligan, he wouldn't have called out some of his guys. It would have been handled in-house, especially after the way they roughed up Sebastian Aho, which was in retaliation for the knee-on-knee hit on Sammy Reinhart in game number 2, But I would just say this, Dan. Rod's a tremendous coach. Jeff Daniels is one assistant's outstanding. Timmy Gleason is other assistant. It's one of the best staffs in the league. For whatever reason, they've lost a bit of their composure as a group. I think it starts with post-game press conferences. Look at how calm, cool, collected, and focused on message Paul Maurice is. And look at how scattered the message is from the Carolina staff. It's 2 completely different things. And I think that's played a role in some of this. I really do. Carolina's lost their identity as a team. Now, maybe they can change it going into Game 4. I don't know. But they've lost their identity as a team, whereas Florida, they've maintained their identity and taken it to another level. Dan, I'll leave you with this one on that series. Florida went to Toronto for Game 7 on a Saturday. Game 7 was on a Sunday. So they were gone from Florida Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Game 3 was Saturday in Florida, in South Florida. That's a long road trip. You know better than anybody else. The hardest game to win after more than 3 days on the road is the first game back after almost a week on the road. They came back and they were okay in the first period. They were just okay in the second period. And in the third period, they steamrolled Carolina. That was the game Carolina had to steal because of the long road trip that Florida had been on. They didn't steal it. Now they're in trouble.
You mentioned Paul Maurice and his team keeping their composure. Isn't that one of his core principles to his team? He doesn't want to see them yapping at the refs ever?
Yeah, I think Paul's done an amazing job. He deserves a lot of credit. And I've said this to a lot of people, and I mean this in the most complimentary of ways. Paul is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He truly is. His messaging with the meat, they're eating out of his hand. He writes their columns for him. He's so polished. He's so intelligent. His messaging is spot on. He wants to get the referee's attention. He knows a buzz phrase to use. He wants to get the attention of one of his star players. He knows what buzz phrase to use. He wants to get the attention of somebody on the other team to break them down. He knows how to use it. He wants to get under the other coach's skin. And I'll use this case in point. The John Cooper play, Brandon Hagel on Barkov in the first round. He says, we're the team that hits players that have the puck on their stick. You don't think that resonated around the Tampa Bay dressing room? Basically, he was calling them all, dirty players.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost their composure the rest of the series. He's unbelievable at doing it.
And meanwhile, Brad Marchand is lining up a lifetime of free ice cream from Dairy Queen. I watched Paul Maurice's press conference in which they spoke for 5 minutes about Dairy Queen. I'm like, this is the greatest exposure Dairy Queen has gotten in years. I do go against Brad's Blizzard of choice. It was cookie dough Blizzard. What is your go-to Blizzard if you have a go-to order at Dairy Queen, Pierre?
I, with all due respect to Dairy Queen, I'm sure it's a fine brand. I haven't been there since I was a Little League baseball player, and our coach would take us there if we won a game. We'd go to Dairy Queen afterwards. So I would just have I just have an ice cream cone, Dan, to be totally honest with you.
You know what? So I have an order. It's called the Georgia Mud Fudge Blizzard.
Okay.
And my lady went and got us all Blizzards, and she's like, she ordered it, and she said to the person, I've never heard of this, and this was the biggest shot to my ego ever. The person at the drive-through window said, yeah, that's a flavor old people get. So I'm like, so I am my mother who would always get a peanut butter parfait at Dairy Queen. I am now turned into that.
That's a good one. I just remember, like I said, when I played Little League baseball, I just remember our coach taking us, if we played a good game, to the local Dairy Queen, which back in those days in Montreal was in Park Extension, for those that know Montreal.
I don't know. Hey, speaking of Marchand, do you think he's playing 5D chess? Because his interview after Florida beat out Toronto, he kept pumping the tires of the Leafs, and this is a really good team. And I think he mentioned in a previous interview that was his team growing up. Do you think he's angling to make his way to Toronto?
No, but it's okay. I think that was part of the message that Paul Maurice wanted to send to the Leafs over the course. We talked about messaging from Paul. I think they had an organizational debrief, because I didn't see one player say one negative thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs the entire series. And that became pretty heated. There were certain moments in that series where it obviously became pretty heated. And they kind of established the ground rules for themselves as an organization. Again, Paul and Brad have been through it a lot. Now that entire team's been through it a lot. But no, I don't think he was. But here's the thing about Brad that I find amazing. In Boston, he was a first-line player. In Florida, he's a third-line player. You see how effective he is playing with Luostarinen and Lundell? That line is amazing. They take over huge swaths of the game because they're just so effective. And Brad has been playing really on the edge without crossing. I know he's taken a couple penalties, but oh my gosh, what a valuable player at this time of the year. Amazingly valuable.
Speaking of the Leafs, seeing what the Panthers are doing with the Hurricanes, they must be looking from the outside saying, hey, maybe Brad was right. Maybe we are pretty close if we took these guys to 7.
They are pretty close, and I think the turning point of the series actually happened after Game 2. I reported it with Julie Stewart-Banks on the show right afterwards. Paul Maurice switched his fourth line, and he decided to go with A.J. Greer and Tomasz Nosek and Jonah Gadjevich. and he took out some of their more skilled fast guys. And Boquist was part of that. Mackie Samoskevich was part of that. And they made sure that they had, and Nico Sturm was part of that. They made sure they had harder, nastier, physical people. And you look at the impact that that line had from Game 3 of the Toronto-Florida series to Game 7. That fourth line outscored Marner, Nyes, and Matthews. Think about it for a second. And that was Paul Maurice sending a subtle message to his team. We got enough skill. I want nasty pieces of business in the lineup. And those nasty pieces of business came in. A.J. Greer is a tough guy. Gadjevich is a tough guy. Nosic's played a lot of games in the league on a lot of different teams. They made a huge difference. And so I think that that really swung that series, the depth factor. For Toronto, I can see how they'd be very positive about it, but they didn't get nearly enough of an offensive or physical contribution from their depth players, which Florida did have.
I don't know if you've put this out there. Where do you think Mitch Marner plays next season? Where is he in the starting lineup at the start of next season?
I've talked about it on a fair number of shows, whether it be on CBS in the United States or Montreal radio or Pittsburgh radio, or even with Julie. I have a hard time seeing him coming back to Toronto, and it's not because he's not a valuable player. He's an amazingly valuable player. And I don't think people have done right, and I know they're frustrated by the results. But to beat up one player, I think, is a tremendous mistake. I could see a team like Vegas wanting him. I could see a team like the New York Rangers wanting him. I could see a team like the Dallas Stars wanting him. I could see a team like the Los Angeles Kings wanting him. So I think there's going to be even Utah. I know I've read this in the paper. Utah, I think there'll be a potpourri of teams that will want him. It comes down to what market does he think is best for him, and who has a centerman that almost can mimic what Austin Matthews can do. Austin's such a good player, and I know he's taking it hard too from the fans. I get it. People are frustrated. I totally get it. Try to find an Austin Matthews. Go try to find one. And I'll leave this with you, Dan, because you were there. You were reporting this in a good way, not a bad way. Think about when Joe Thornton got traded out of Boston. And I can tell you right now, that's a trade even though they won the cup in 2011, they could have won more cups. They traded Joe Thornton for Wayne Primo, Marco Sturm, and Brad Stewart. That trade blew the Bruins up. Not one of those three guys was there when they won the cup in 2011. And Joe Thornton went on to have a Hall of Fame career. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but I have to think he's going to get in at some point. And so you got to be really careful. You don't find players like that. You got to draft players like that.
Pierre, we appreciate this. And next time I talk to you, we might have ourselves a cup final all determined.
I can't wait to talk to you again. I've had so much fun with you. You're looking great, and I would love to be your caddy at the Peterborough Country Club.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.